shocking day. It's a very, so it feels like Tisha B'Av. It feels like Tisha B'Av. And it is like Tisha B'Av. And Baruch Hashem that we come together, and I hope that in many places people come together because this is what Klal Yisrael does. Eis Tzara is they come together. Just a few words without, but that's the sort of natural reaction, I think, to shocking story that we all heard this morning, first thing in the morning. The natural reaction is to be glued to the news and to watch what the nations of the world are going to say and what are the police going to do, and what's going to be with security. We worry about ourselves, rightfully so. We worry about ourselves. We should be worried about ourselves and take precautions. But it occurs to me that there's, just personally, and I presume it's true for most of the people in the room, that there's very little that we can do on a security level, and there's very little we can do on a political level. And I think that where our reaction as Jews, from Jews, Torah Jews, has to be to do something on a ruchniistic level. And people often call for demonstrations and they call for big mass gatherings. I think that the correct response throughout history has been Tshuva and Tefila. That's what it's all about. It's about when the Torah happens, and this was very close to home. Every time a Jew is in pain and families are hurt, and it should be close to home, but this is very close to home. Shul that many of us daven, and I've davened there a dozen times. A neighborhood that we all have friends in. A neighborhood that we could have been in. A neighborhood similar to this one. So the reaction has to be, I believe, Mazois Asa Lakim Lanu. The answer to that question I do not know. But I do know that the correct thing to do is to do tshuva and to daven. Masechta Tainus is all based on the response of Klal Yisrael throughout the ages. When Saras came to Klal Yisrael, they would fast, they would daven, they would say Tehillim, they would talk in Divrei Tshuva, and communities would try to be makabel things on themselves. That was the normal and natural way. It starts with the Chumash. That's what we should do, and that's what I'd like to do. Katainti, I wish I was, more for your sake than for my sake, I wish I was like the gadol that knew this is what we have to do. This is the tikkun that we have to make. I don't know any of that. I just know that we have to do some tshuva. I was thinking this afternoon about the Gemara says that one of the greatest tzaddikim in history was Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. He's called the tzaddik. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was such a tzaddik that he was invited to have a tour, a preview of Gan Eden and Olam Haba, even while he was alive. I don't know if anybody else can make the claim that they've been there and back. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi actually had has a whole story that he saw Olam Haba. And when he came and he entered into Gan Eden, into Olam Haba, Gemara says that Gemara Ksuvas Ayin Zayin Machriz Elio Kameh, Elio Hanavi greeted him and called out, Panu Makoim Lebar Levoy. Not Platz. Make some room for Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Bar Levoy, for the son of the Levi. Panu Makoim Lebar Levoy, Panu Makoim Lebar Levoy. So they made space. Okay, Tzaddik Poli here. Ozal, he came and he said that this is my request. I'd like to put my eyes on Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. I've heard so much about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. He was such a giant of the previous generation. He says, let me see, let me speak to, let me talk to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Also, Ashkechel Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, they found him, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Yosef al Plazas or Tachsike Pisa, he was sitting, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, like a king. Amarle and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who was a very incisive So Amar Le, so Rishon Bar Yochai met Rabbi Shua ben Levi in Shemayim. He said to him, Atu Bar Levi, are you really Bar Levi? Rashi explains, are you the one that everybody's talking about, that you're the big tzaddik and the tzaddik Hador and the tzaddik Yisod Olam? Are you really Bar Levi? It's a very piercing question. It's a question that they only ask in Olam Haba. Are you really Moshe? Are you really Aaron? Are you really Bar Levi? We know what everybody says. We know you even made it up to a preview tour of Olam Haba. Rishon Bar Yochai looks for the Sod, looks for the Nister, for the Emes. And he says to him, Atu Bar Levi? Amar Le Hain. He says, yeah, I am Bar Levi. Straight answer, one word. Amar Le, Rishon Bar Yochai asked him, tell me something. Nirasa hakeshes biyamecha. Was there ever a rainbow during your lifetime? Amar Lehain. He says, yes, there was. Rainbow means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was meant, chas v'sholom, to bring a catastrophe into this world, but he didn't. And the rainbow is the oath that the only reason he didn't is because of the bris that he made, the bris Noach, bris that he made with the world, that he's not going to destroy the world. But seeing the Keshes, as you know, as beautiful as it is a siman kvala. So he says, was there ever a rainbow in your day? Meaning, was there ever a time in your life where the world really should have had a gzeira of being destroyed? Amar Lehain. He says, yes, I saw a rainbow. So Shimon Bar told him, Im Kain, if that's true, I ata Bar Levi. Then you are not Bar Levi. Your name is Bar Levi, and people talk about you as Rabbi Shua ben Levi, the big tzaddik, but you're not really Bar Levi. Means that such a piercing message that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gave. It means that the destruction of the world, God forbid, or the destruction of any human being, destruction of a community, is not about 100 Rishayim or 1,000,000 Rishayim or hundreds of millions of people that hate us and do evil. It's about the lack of one tzaddik, one Rabbi Shua ben Levi. If there would have been one Rabbi Shua ben Levi, then there wouldn't have been a Keshes. It just takes one. The Gemara tells us that Loihi, truth is the whole story, Loihavoy midi, really, there was no rainbow in the time of Rabbi Shua ben Levi, but he didn't want to show off. The point is, for us, the point of the story is that sometimes we think that, the world, it's really very big. I mean, there's Chutz La'aretz, there's the European Union, there's the United Arab Republic, there's all kinds of people, and there's the Jews, and the Jews are very big. Like, what is it going to do? What can I possibly do in the world of Ruchnius? Okay, maybe if I was like a prime minister or something, I could do something. If I had a voice, if I really knew how to get into people, if I was a billionaire. But what are we supposed to do? The answer is that we could be a Rabbi Shua ben Levi. It just takes one tzaddik, Kal v'chomer, a room full of tzaddik, to change the whole world, and that's a very strong responsibility that exists on every single one of us. See, I always say this, and I believe it with my full heart, that just about everybody in this room left what they were doing and they moved to Eretz Yisrael. Why? Why did we move here? Whether we articulated it as such or not, the reason we moved here is to become tzaddikim. We realized that we wanted to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We realized that this is the Eretz HaKodesh. We realized that this is the historical cycle, and this is where we need to be. We realized we wanted to greet Mashiach. It was a very, very strong Ruchnius move. Anybody in this room that moved here for the Gashmius is a little out of their mind. Why do you move here? We want to be tzaddikim. We want to be tzaddikim. So, well, it's not just a personal thing to be a tzaddik. To be a tzaddik means that to be a tzaddik means to save the whole world. It just takes one Rabbi Yaacov ben Levi to stop the cat from coming. So I want to think about this. I want to talk about this. Not right now necessarily, but I want to brainstorm about this. How do we do this? How do we make it that there's no keshes? How do we? What can we do to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have rachamim on Klal Yisrael? What can we do to make the world worth being, existing? That's the question, the piercing question Rav Shimon Bar Yochai asked Rabbi Yaacov ben Levi. Are you true to who you are, to what your name is, to Bar Levi? Are you the tzaddik that they say you are? On Tisha B'Av, I said it feels like Tisha B'Av, so make it feel a little more like Tisha B'Av. But on Tisha B'Av, I read I'm reading less parts of an article which moved me very much, written by the Rosh Yeshiva Reb David Soloveitchik, Shlit'a, actually the relative of one of the Niftarim today. David Soloveitchik, Shlit'a, Rosh Yeshiva Brisk. He spoke. This wasn't long ago. This was in Tafshin Ayin Gimel. This discussion happened, and Reb David Soloveitchik was explaining to the people around him, which were all Gedolim. He was in the situation was that Reb David was sitting in a room with Reb Moshe Wolfs and with Gedolim, Talmidim not just of his, but Talmidim of the Briskerov. And he was sitting with them and he was talking about the situation that the world that Eretz Yisrael is in today. Tough Shinai, the world is in today. And he said that the situation today, especially in Eretz Yisrael, is, to use his words, Hamatziv Noira V'Oyim. Hachad Noira. That his words, he was speaking to Rabbi Avram Yisrael, Ani choishesh ma'od, shemiskarev yoim din kasher ma'od ma'od. Ani omer l'cha, says a matzav noira v'oyim. And matzav is a pacha noira. So far you can follow the Yiddish. Zogai, I'm telling you, Rishtain far a matzav noira v'oyim. His repetition of mine. Baruchnias ubagashmias. He explains, he was worried about the Iranians. He says, when Hitler, Yimach Shemo V'Zichro, spoke beforish about what his plan was for the Jewish people, he explains that he was there. Ani Hagever, he says, he remembers it, he was there. He says people didn't take it seriously enough. People said, I'm sure the world won't let him do what he wants to do. Crazy person. It's not something that can happen. He says that Gam Hitler loy haminu. They didn't believe him. Ubazula. V'ani choshesh shem'od ma'od shanu omdim lifnei davar noir v'oyim v'gam achshav lo agim lo ubaz bazim lo. He's speaking about the Iranians specifically. He says, this is Xeris Haman he was talking about at that time. Now it's worse. V'akol nichtav v'nechtav b'yom hadin. He says, we have to make sure that we don't make the mistake that they made in Europe. What's the mistake? He says that we didn't find, he says, they didn't find in Europe before the war that Kihilos all gathered and said, Tillim and Daven to Hashem and cried out to Hashem, Rebbeinu Shalom, save us from this. We don't find it. Why don't we find it? He says, I don't know if it's good politics to say this, but this is what he said. He says nobody believed it. They were in a state of denial in all countries. The only place where they believed it and they took it seriously was here in Eretz Yisrael. And he says that he remembers when they came to Eretz Yisrael that he was walking with his mother and they were walking by Shar Yafo. Right? Shar Yafo. And they heard screaming, wailing. And he said to his mother, what is that? He says, they're davening at the Kaisel. Asher Yafa. What are they davening for? They're davening that the gzeira of Hitler shouldn't be miskayed. That's the davening. And he says Reb David, he says it's absolutely clear to him that that's why Eretz Yisrael was miraculously saved. So if those who know the history know, miraculously saved from Hitler and from the Nazis. It was a miracle. Nothing short of a miracle. He says, but every corner of Yerushalayim, they were davening, and they weren't even davening for themselves. They were davening for the people in Europe. But every corner, every shul, every beis medrash, at the Kaisel, everybody was there and davening with all of their heart for that clause, that Rebbeinu Shem Shev Rachmanis. He says at the end here that when Mashiach comes, it says, "Hine anochi shaleach lachem es Eliyahu hanavi lifnei bo yoim Hashem gadol v'hanoira." Malachi, the Navi says that I'm going to send to you Eliyahu hanavi. He's going to be mevaser about the Mashiach. Lifnei bo yoim Hashem hagadol v'hanoira means like Eliyahu is going to come a day in advance or a few days in advance and tell everybody that Mashiach is coming. It's going to be the Yom Hagadol v'Hanoira, and at that time, Beheshiv leivavos al bonim v'leibonim al avoisam pen avoi v'hikesias ha'oretz chayrim. That's the end of the pasuk. It's going to be a wonderful time. Pen avoi, so I won't come v'hikesias ha'oretz. Hine mevur, Lashon of David's elevation. Sheyeh ba'achris hayomim. That in these days, he's talking about the times that we're living in now, today. Achris hayamim, there'll be matzav noira hamachayev oiner shavi kesias haaretz chayrim. It could be a horrible situation. Hinem chadash hanavi malachi. So the Navi Malachi says that mahal chadash nemer loy b'nevuah. He had a new nevuah. That it's not going to be bad. It's going to be good. It's not going to be a bad thing. Asher b'matzav hamachayev, that exactly the situation which is machayev v'hi kesias haaretz chayrim. In other words, there's a choice. The choice of it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to let the world, because you see, Sheikh could come even if the door is kulei chayim. So it's something big is going to happen. Something big is happening. It's up to us, says Navi Malachi, what's going to happen. Is it going to be La'olenu chas v'sholom hikesias haaretz chayrim? It's talking about Eretz Yisrael. Or is it going to be Hine anochi shaleach lachem es Eliyahu hanavi? He ends off by saying, "Leitzarich liikanis lepanika." He needs to panic. Anachnu maminim sh'Hashem yaseh lanu nisa. After Taki higia zman hagula, we believe that Hashem is going to bring the gula. We believe that we can do it. Tzarich liskoinen legula. Since the Holocaust, Hashem oisin nisim gedolim laYehudim. It's been unbelievable miracles for all of Klal Yisrael. Befrat be'Eretz Yisrael, shemareches es roiv haYehudim ba'olam. We know that. Already the majority of Jews in the world are in Eretz Yisrael. Is that true? The majority of Jews in the world are in Eretz Yisrael. Look at the yeshiva. Zochel l'siyata d'shmaya mi'al hateva. Abnormal. What's going on? Beautiful. What's going on? Roim, we see Hashem wrote Lases on Nisim v'Yeshuas v'Tzarech l'Yiskanel Yeshuas. The only thing is that we have to be awake. We have to be on the ball here. And on the ball means that we can't be in a denial. We can't say, oh, everything's going to be okay. We have to do tshuva. We have to do Aderech l'Yiskanel Yeshuas. The only thing to do right now is l'Yischazek b'Torah v'Chesed. L'Yischazek b'Torah, l'Yischazek v'Chesed. And there has to be special time. So this is a hira from a gadol ador that the thing there's a big thing happening. It's big. It's very, very big, and it's all in one pasuk in Malachi. And the only question is what's going to happen. So Hashem has done miracles for us. He'll continue doing miracles, but what it means is that it has to be the v'heshiv leivavos al bonim. There has to be Torah. There has to be chesed. That's a choice that we do make. It's a choice that helps, because as I said at the beginning, it's not about necessarily, it's frustrating to think the whole Klal Yisrael has to do Tshuva. I don't know, it's hard to halavai, be very nice. But it means us. It means me, it means you. And it doesn't mean, and this I want to end it up with daven, the second part of the evening. I want to daven together. But it doesn't mean necessarily, because people, we talk about this all the time, it doesn't mean necessarily that we have to do these big heroic things. We just have to be tzaddikim. That's all.
Rabbi, where were you reading from?
This is a letter from David Soloveitchik. It's not a book, it's just a printed letter from David Soloveitchik. I just want to make a couple of small examples, suggestions. How to be a tzaddik in 5 minutes. Number one is, and this I learned from my Rebbe Rav Steinberg, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, who told us this all the time. He said that if a person sees pain, if a person has painful things happen to them or to their family, physically, emotionally, he says, there's no Navi around today that can pinpoint exactly this for that. If you hear somebody doing that, I think you gotta raise his eyebrows. It's not the right thing. But he says, Odika Manusa, it's because we hurt the people that are closest to us. Told me that many times. We have a tendency to hurt people that are close to our husbands, our wives, our children, our good friends. Somehow or another you think that, we hurt our enemies, that's where we're getting it. No. There's a certain, we're comfortable with people, and when we're comfortable with people, we're not careful. When we're not careful, we can be insensitive and very hurtful to people, and everybody's coming, yeah, it's okay. Because this is the Yifashvesh b'maisav and the Yimashmesh b'maisav that the Gemara speaks about. Misharash Yisurim Bainalav. The Sosa Sharm says this before. Yisurim Bainalav. Somebody sees Yisurim. The thing to do is to look around and say, am I hurting anybody? This is the first step to being a tzaddik. The first step to being a tzaddik and really saving the world is preventing those rainbows, is just making sure we're not hurting anybody. And let me just to add on it, I talk to so many couples and so many relationships. There's we have to be mavatir. People get their backs up, and they just don't want to be mavatir. I'm right. Whether it's in a friendship, whether it's in a marriage, with their children, everything becomes a matter of principle. No, who apologize? I'm not doing it. I'm not going to talk. It's such a mitzvah to break that cycle. It's an unbelievable mitzvah. When you break that cycle, then the whole Shemayim opens up to you. And not only to you, but to everybody around you. It's just an amazing spiritual exercise. Just to be mavatir. We're very, very makbid. I tend to be quite makbid on things. Get upset with people, just, and they don't get it. Recently I was upset at somebody for 6-7 weeks, and I'm just waiting for him to, don't you see how upset I am at you? And so he didn't get it all together. But, when I told him, I get a whole different story. Just let go of it. Letting go of it is the first siman of a tzaddik. I think for point 1, point 2, I believe that we, particularly we, Olim, have to say no to a lot of the mishigas. I don't want to be makatrik, I really don't want to say anything bad, it's not the right thing. But so much of the political environment here in Eretz Yisrael has caused such division and such, it's really crazy. It's I think, it's Hasidim and Misnagdim and Ashkenazim and Sfardim and Aguda and Shas and Tegel and Chilonim and Dati Lumi and Charedim. This is it's like a plane that's spun out of control. It's crazy. I'll tell you, it's crazy. Don't get used to it. It's nuts. It's not supposed to be this way. It might have been this way different times in history. There was also Chorban Bayis Rishon, Chorban Bayis Sheni. It hasn't done us any good. We have to. I think it's a special appeal of the Anglo society to say, no, this is not the way we are. This is not the right way to be. We came here to be tzaddikim at Eretz Yisrael. We didn't come here to hate people. We didn't come here to be against people. We came here to be. It doesn't mean that you can't have your shittas and your opinions and whatever you want to be. But the sinner is out of control. It's just out of control. The division is out of control. I have to say, I wasn't going to say this, but I can't help myself. But I was thinking tonight it would be nice if we had like a few different rabbanim to speak and to listen to me the whole time. I called up one community leader. He said, "Well, who else is speaking? I don't speak with everybody." So I said, "You know what? We're going backwards." So it's not for me. This is not normal. This is not normal, and it's not the way we have to be. And it's not. I feel like it's my obligation to say this is not the derech Hashem. It's not the derech HaTorah. It's not the way it should be. And we have to let go of that. That's point 2. Point 3 is sensitive to Chilul Hashem and Kiddush Hashem. It's so easy to make a Kiddush Hashem and Chalil. It's so easy to make a Chilul Hashem. With every, you go, if you say Erev Tov to a cashier, and you're a from person, you make Kiddush Hashem to a bus driver, to a taxi driver. It's just about being nice. Makabel is Kol Adam Sever Panim Yavra. Chilul Hashem, a person is dishonest with themselves, dishonest with other people. It's not just like you're dishonest in Avera. That's enough. But it's such a Chilul Hashem. For all of the generations, it's been so difficult for the Jewish people to take their role of being an Or La'amim, to being that light, to being that example, to be a real Or. It's not impossible any longer, but it's impossible when we're all going to jail and stuff. There has to be a feeling of responsibility upon every one of us to make a Kiddush Hashem. Even just one Kiddush Hashem, it can change the whole world. One Chilul Hashem, God forbid. Who knows what kind of damage it can do. So I think that these are just a few of the things that come to mind. Again, like I said, should be brainstorming, should be thinking, but to be misakein and merakes, I just really want to say one thing. All I want to say is that this is a very serious situation. That's what the Gedolim are telling us. We can't be in denial of a serious situation. Kadosh Baruch Hu mis'avel l'tfilos and shel tzaddikim. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to daven. He wants us to grow. He wants us to be tzaddikim. And we know historically that this has been the make it or break it of the Jewish people. We're here. We've outlasted everybody, and we're going to keep on going until Mashiach comes, Be'ezus Hashem. And we should all be zoche to greet Mashiach right here in Eretz Yisrael. It will be a wonderful thing. And according to all the Gedolim, it seems that realistically this is really the time that the Nevi'im are talking about. So if we don't believe that, what are we doing here all together? This is what the Nevi'im have told us. This also starts with Moshe Rabbeinu went through all of the Nevuah. So it really is the time of Gula, but we have to do our thing, and we can't get into this out of control spiral. And Be'ezus Hashem, we should all be zocheh to Yeshuas and Besuras Tovos and safety and good health, and those that left this world today, people that that you and I sat next to at chasanas, people that we know, it's just unbelievable. Yorad doidi laganu lelakik b'shoshanim. That's what Shlomo Melech says. Sometimes that Hashem goes down into his garden and he picks out the most beautiful roses. What else can I say? They should have a lichtig Gan Eden, Hashem Yimkan Dama, and they should be a Melitz Yosher and Beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have rachamim on their families and on Klal Yisrael, on the world as well. Those that are ill, they should have a refuah shalema, and we should have only Besuras Tovos. So we want to say some Tehillim together. What we'll do is, does everyone have a Tehillim? This one. To cover ground, we'll say a few of the Tehillim together, pasuk by pasuk. A few of them we'll say by ourselves. Say,
ואנחנו בשם אלינוי אלוהינו נזכיר. קראו ונפלו ואנחנו קמנו בניסוידו. יושיעו המלך יעננו ביום קוראנו. Gimel. Mizmar LeDavid, Adonai Ro'i Lo Yasod. Shani Arbit Seini Almei Menuchos Sinaleini. Yacheni V'man Leitzedek V'man Shemot. Gates Hamoves, Vairoro Kiatoimodi, Shivtecho Mishantecho Hei Moyinachamuni. Aroi Lefonai Shulchan Neged Zoiroi. Shanto Vashem and Rosh, Vivoisi Rivoyo. Achtoi Bachesed, Yirdefuni Kol Yimei Chayoi. Keshavti Bebeis Adonai, Liyorech Yomim. Sabbath test, say together. On the Zeh Chashishan and Bittul Ayin Tes. Mishmar Liyosef Elifol Goyim Nafol Hey, base. Mishmar Liyosef Elohim Nitzah B'yad Asel V'karev Elohim Yisroel Ad Mosai Tishbetu Ovel Ufnei Rishoyim Tisu Selo Ani Varash Hatztiku B'yad Rishoyim Hatzilu V'yodu v'lo b'chashecha yishalochu Imoitzu kol moistei horeh Ni amarti Elohim atem uvnei el yoin kulchem Yodom timusun chachad hasorim tipoilu Umaliyim shoftores ki atosim kol Hey Gimel, Shir Mizmor L'Osem Shir hamaloi zelaninoi vatzarosali karosi v'yanei Adonai afilo nafshi mishva sheker milo shoin remiyo Yitin l'chol ha'yoshem lo l'shoin remiyo
For the Tshuva today, we have a few names, but it's Tfilas Tzibur, so if you have names of Cholim, we'll get them in by yourself. Yishaberach Aviseinu Avram, Yisuf, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, David, and Shlomo, Yevarach, Yerafeh, Sacholim, Eitan ben Sora, Shmuel Yerucham ben Bela, Chaim Yechiel ben Malka. Bavur Shekol Akol Mispalim Bata, Mischar Zah, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Yimal Rachmim Aleim, Achlimam, L'Rapoisam, L'Achzikam, L'Achyoisam. Yishlach Lahem Meheru, Foshalema Min HaShamayim, L'Ramach, Evreihem, Shesod Yideihem, L'Sei Shar Choyle Yisrael, Refus HaNefesh, Refus HaGuf, Hashta Ba'adolo, Bizman Kariv, Ne'mar, Amen.